Have you ever looked at a list of data jobs like architect, engineer, scientist, analyst, and just felt lost? Like, who actually does what? It can definitely feel like a tangled web. Well, today, we're going to cut right through all that complexity. We are going to map out the modern data team and see exactly how each role helps turn raw data into real business value. Let's dive in.
And this really is the core of the problem, isn't it? I mean, pretty much every company out there is swimming in data. But just having the data, that's not the goal. The real question is, do you have the right people in the right spots to turn all that noise into an actual competitive advantage? That's the gap we're going to close today.
So here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the big picture. Then we'll meet the key players. We're going to cover the architects and engineers who build the foundation, then the analysts and scientists who find the value. After that, the business and governance folks who connect it all to the real world. And finally, we'll see how it all clicks together and what it all means for you.
To really get a grip on how all these roles connect, we need a framework. And that framework is called the data value chain. I want you to think of it less like a list of jobs and more like a process, a flow, where each person adds a very specific kind of value, transforming that raw data into powerful strategic insight.
So what is the data value chain really?
You know, the best way to think about it is like a factory assembly line. Raw materials, in this case, our raw data, go in one end. And at each station, a specialist, one of our data roles, refines it, shapes it, and adds to it. And this happens over and over until a finished, valuable product comes out the other side. For us, that product is business intelligence. So let's start at the very beginning of that assembly line with the people who build the factory itself. These are the foundation builders, the data architects and the data engineers. And let's be clear, without their work, there's nowhere to put the data and no way to move it. Nothing else can happen.
First up, the data architect. Picture them as the architect of a huge skyscraper. They're not the ones laying the bricks or pouring the concrete, but they are drawing the master blueprint that everybody else has to follow. Their job is to make sure the entire data structure is sound, that it's scalable, and that it's built for a very specific purpose. And when you look at what they do day to day, you see just how strategic this role is. They're making these huge foundational decisions. What kind of data warehouse do we use? How should we model our data? How are we going to secure it? But the most important question they're always asking is, how does this technical blueprint actually help our business strategy? They are the master planners. So if the architect is the designer, then the data engineer is the master builder. They take those blueprints and they make them a reality. They are the hands-on crew with the tool belts on, building the pipelines, the databases, and all the machinery that makes the data factory actually run. The key thing to understand about engineers is that they live and breathe flow and reliability. Their whole world is about building these pipelines that pull data from all these different sources, cleaning it up, and moving it to where it needs to go. Their number one job is to make sure the data is always available, that it's trustworthy, and that the whole system is efficient. Okay, so our data factory has been designed and built. The plumbing's all in place. Now, it's time to bring in the people who actually work inside that factory to find the gold. Let's meet the analysts and the scientists. These are the value creators. The data analyst is your expert on the here and now. Their job is to look at all the data we've collected and explain what happened in the past and what's going on right now. They are the interpreters, the ones turning all that data into dashboards and reports that help us make better day-to-day decisions. The data scientist, on the other hand, is focused on the future. They're looking at that same data, but their goal is all about prediction. They build these complex statistical and machine learning models to forecast what will happen next. They're the innovators, always searching for hidden patterns that could lead to a whole new strategy or product. This slide just nails the core difference perfectly. The analyst answers the question, what happened, by, say, building a dashboard that shows last quarter's sales. But the scientist answers the question, what will happen, by building a model to forecast next quarter's sales. Both are absolutely vital, they just operate on different points in time.
So a data team can't just operate in a technical silo, right? It needs to be connected to the rest of the business, and it needs to be protected. That brings us to our next two critical groups, the connectors and the protectors.
First up, the business analyst. This role is the essential translator, the bridge. They sit right between the business side, like sales or marketing, and the technical team. Their job is to take a business problem, like, hey, we need to reduce customer churn, and translate it into a specific technical request that the data team can actually get to work on.
They make sure the work being done solves a real-world problem.
And then we have the guardians. This group includes a few key players. You've got the governance lead, who sets the rules for data quality, the security officer, who protects it from threats, the compliance officer, who makes sure everything follows laws like GDPR. And leading the whole show is the chief data officer, or CDO, who sets the high-level strategy for all of the organization's data.
Okay, so we've met all the individual players. But the real magic isn't just in what they do alone, it's how they all work together. This is the synthesis. This is where that data value chain really comes to life.
And you can see that whole story play out right here. It always starts with a business need, then the business analyst translates it, the architect designs the solution, the engineer builds it, the analyst or scientist finds the insights, and then, and this is the most important step, the business uses that insight to make a smarter decision. That cycle, right there, is a data team working in perfect harmony.
And this chart kind of shows how these roles often fit into a company structure. You have the executive level at the top for that high-level leadership, then a strategy level with your architects and governance leads, then the execution layer, where the engineers are actually building things, and finally, the consumption layer, where analysts and business users turn all that hard work into real decisions. So, after all of that, what's the single most important thing to take away from this? It's pretty simple, but it's so crucial. A successful data strategy is always powered by people.
Look, you can have the best technology, the most powerful software in the world, but as this shows, without the right people working together, it's basically useless. Real success comes from having clear roles, strong collaboration, and a direct line connecting all that technical work to actual business goals. The technology is just the enabler. The people are the ones who drive the value.
This quote just says it all, doesn't it? The magic really happens when all these different specialized roles work together. That's what transforms something abstract like raw data into something very real and very powerful, a competitive advantage.
So let's run through that chain one last time, quick-fire style. Architects design, engineers build, analysts interpret, scientists innovate, and governance protects. Every single one of those links is absolutely vital to the chain.
And that brings us to a final question, just for you. As you look at this value chain and you think about your own organization, where's the broken link? Who is the missing player on your team? Now that's the question I'll leave you with. Thanks for joining me.